So hello everyone and welcome. We are joining you from Ryerson University. It's currently 7 p.m. on Wednesday, November 28th. And we are thrilled to be with you here today, providing a little overview of Ryerson University for the students of virtual high school. So I will go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Kelly Wheatley and I am a virtual recruitment officer here at Ryerson University. So I coordinate a wide variety of webinars, online information sessions, for students to help them gain more information about the university, the application process, and then how to arrive at Ryerson, hopefully, all ready to go. I'm thrilled to be joined by my colleague today.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashlyn. You can call me Ash for short, just like the Pokemon character. I am a liaison officer here at Ryerson, and I am a recent grad. I actually just finished my master's from media production, so I'm really excited to be here and talk to you all things Ryerson.
Amazing, and Ashlyn has had lots of practice in the last couple of months. She's been on the road, traveling around Ontario, doing lots of school visits and university fairs and all sorts of things. So she's definitely going to take the lead today. I am here to support and be a tech hand if necessary, but really Ashlyn is going to be the driving force of our session today. So with that, I'm going to move us on to our first slide.
Great, yeah. So again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I always like to start my presentations by giving you a little bit of a background of how I came to choose Ryerson and my journey into Ryerson. So like I said, I actually graduated from a master's in media production, which means that I actually did my undergrad somewhere else. And I actually had a really great 4 years, but my journey into Ryerson starts with the research. It's all about doing research and finding your place. And that's exactly what you're all doing right now, listening to us. That is a great way of researching. And what you really want to do is find the place where you feel most at home, which is what I found when I came to Ryerson. I was really lucky in finding that. It was also a place that I found a program that really suited my needs and my interests. So for me, I was already doing a lot of the work for media production at home through my own research and wasn't getting any sort of school credit for it. So when I realized that I could, that was amazing. It was an amazing moment where I was like, hey, this is something I really enjoy doing. Why not pursue it? Why not study it? And I got really lucky. I got in and I had a wonderful time here, and I'm still here because I loved it so much. So I really hope that Ryerson is the right place for you. But even if it's not, really just what I always say is find the right place for you. That's really going to make you the most successful student, and that's really what's important here. Yeah. Absolutely.
And Eggie says hello.
Yeah.
We have our little miniature stuffed Eggie right here. Of course, Eggie is our Ryerson Ram. He's kind of the epitome of the Ryerson Ram. He's always around at big events and, of course, sporting events. So he's saying hello and welcome there. He's very happy to see you.
So Ryerson is a great big university. It's great. We have over 45,000 students, over 100 undergraduate and graduate programs, 62 in the undergraduate level. And we're second on national reputation ranking, according to Maclean's magazine, which is really special. Yeah, why don't you just, I'm going to skip over to the next slide real quick. Our undergraduate facilities are amazing. We have over 6 faculties, we have 6 faculties that we're going to discuss in a second. But every single faculty has its own little niche. What I always like to point out is every single faculty also has its own career center advisor, which means that there's someone that's going to be specialized in your faculty, in the industry you want to enter after graduation. So that's really important. That was really important to me as a student to know. And I think it's just really important in general because as much as you want to have a great 4 years, you also need to think about what's going to happen after those 4 years.
Absolutely, and there's so much newness, I think, at university too, right? Like even the name faculty, to some students, they're like, I mean, what is that, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, you know, we just kind of broke it down here, right? Sort of a collection of related subject areas, that's not something that you're super familiar with. So you might find that, you know, other universities have schools or, you know, colleges or things like this. So Ryerson, generally we call it faculties, and it's just part of the sort of transition. So you're going to be learning a lot of new terminology, which is fantastic. So I think moving into the actual faculties that we have here at Ryerson, I'll let Ashley do that.
Yeah, so the first one is the Faculty of Arts. This houses all of our liberal arts programs. One of my favorite programs I always like to talk about in this faculty is Arts and Contemporary Studies. That is a multidisciplinary program where you can focus on more than one thing, which is really amazing and awesome. There's also a very cool class in that program. It's actually located inside the Royal Ontario Museum. So that acts as your classroom, and your professor is a real-life archaeologist, which I wish I had known about back when I was a student, because that sounds like an amazing time. Next is the Faculty of Community Services. This is what I like to call our give back faculty. Programs that are going to make an impactful change in society. This houses programs like social work or nursing. And nursing is pretty cool. You're going to get a placement every single year in our nursing program. And there's programs like occupational health and safety and things like that. So no matter what you're interested in, there's a spot for you in Ryerson. Next is my home faculty, the Faculty of Communication and Design. This houses more of our artistic programs. I actually have, I know someone who actually graduated from performance production, and she is now creating the sets for Big Brother, the TV show, which is pretty
Very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah. The Faculty of Science is up next. That houses all of our math and science programs. One that I always like to highlight in here is medical physics. Mm-hmm. Someone at a graduate level is actually really working on a cool project. They're working on a metal that humans can actually induce, and the metal latches onto cancerous cells. So doctors can use an ultrasound to identify where that cancer is located without actually having to go into the body. Which is really good, because going into the body seems cool when you're watching Grey's Anatomy, but it's not so cool in real life. Yeah. Next up is the Faculty of Engineering and Architectural Science. Lots of very cool things happening in this faculty. Our electrical engineering students recently created a robot. They call it the Rambot. We are the Ryerson Rams. See? And the robot does a really cool thing. It actually shoots basketballs from the three-point line and does something that I can't do. It gets them in the net. So the Raptors actually heard about this. They were pretty impressed by it. So they invited the students who made the robot to one of their games, and the robot and the students actually hosted their halftime show, which was pretty amazing. And last but definitely not least is the Ted Rogers School of Management. This has all of our business students. Amazing things happening in that faculty. There's actually over $1 million in scholarships just for that faculty. Yeah. So it is, good things are happening at Ryerson. We do like to share all the good things, but that's just a snippet of what's going on in each faculty.
For sure. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Ted Rogers School of Management, or TRSM as we often call it, it's actually the largest undergraduate faculty of business in Canada. So that's pretty impressive when you think about it, just the sheer size and our location right by, Bay Street and Dundas. It's only a couple of blocks away from King and Bay Street, which is really the financial hub. You go to King and Bay and you find Scotiabank and you find CIBC and you find all of these huge banks. So, our students who are interested in finance and things of that nature are always pretty excited to be literally within a couple of minutes walk of the financial capital of Canada. Really.
Yeah, you're immersed in that already as a student.
Amazing.
So where is Ryerson? So Ryerson is right downtown Toronto. We're actually located right on the corner of Yonge and Dundas. That is the busiest intersection in all of Canada. That means that you're going to have something to do every single day of the week, both on campus and outside of campus, Monday through Sunday at any time of the day. It also means you have access to different types of food from all over the world. So it's a good place to be. It also means you're going to be surrounded by the industries you're studying. So if you're studying fashion, you're steps away from the fashion district. If you're studying business, like Kelly just mentioned, you're right on Bay Street. So no matter what you're studying, you're at an arm's reach away from that industry.
And we still preserve that little bit of green space for you too. So you can see on the bottom, there's the quad there, the Ryerson quad. So you'll definitely find folks, tossing frisbees around or just studying when the weather is nice. Probably a little less when it's winter here, but it's a beautiful green space. And I always like to say the Wi-Fi extends throughout the quad. So you actually can get some good studying done as long as you can stay on track.
So I already talked a little bit about Toronto, but it is an amazing place to be. And if you live near Toronto, I find that the people who live near Toronto often take for granted how amazing the city is, but it is an amazing city. The BBC recently named it the most multicultural city in the world, and that really is reflected on our campus. You'll see it every day as you walk down Gold Street, which is a pedestrian-only walkway for our campus, for our students. It's also, like I said, you're going to be surrounded by all the industries. I recently heard that we actually have more startups in Toronto than there is in Silicon Valley right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a great place to be studying, and it's a great place to be because your industry is actively active right next door.
Absolutely. I know, and we're a large city, and I love the point about technology too, because I think that people often think of, you know, sort of the Kitchener-Waterloo corridor, right? And absolutely there's so much there, but it really does extend up to Toronto too, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of innovation in Brampton, and it really is in this region as well. Yeah, it's great to see. I think there was a new investment yesterday as well from Accenture Canada, that they have sort of determined that they are opening doors in Canada as well, and that's going to be located here. So we're always getting new investments in the city as well, so always more and more opportunities for our students.
Yeah, and because we are a university, we do a ton of research, and you have some stats just right there. I, as a former master's student, did my own research, so I always like to talk a little bit about my own experience doing that. I actually did research on literary inspired web series and how it is women actually who are taking the lead on creating those, which is a very different from Hollywood when you look at the stats and things like that. So no matter what it is you're studying, if there's something that you're really passionate about researching, you can pursue it here, right at Ryerson. Or even as an undergraduate, you can still help others do their research. You can get a part-time job helping a professor or a graduate student doing their research. So there's many opportunities here, and there are many facets that where you can extend your research to. We are also home to the Mars Labs, which I always like to talk about, especially to biomedical sciences students who want to go pursue that. That's just for biomedical sciences, and it's right next door to all the major hospitals. So it is a really cool opportunity to get involved in, and I do encourage everyone coming to Ryerson to get involved.
I know, and it's interesting because I always say too, I love that you use that example of your own research in media, because I think that when we think of research, we do think of exactly this image right here, right? It's the student, you know, in the lab with the test tubes. And I could tell you lots of stories, right? I could tell you about an undergraduate biomedical sciences student who was the first author on a research paper she did at Mount Sinai Hospital. I mean, I can tell you those incredible stories, but it is important to expand your mind as well. And just because you might be in an arts or humanities field, there's still so much research to be done. So yeah, just always keep that in mind. Don't think that research gets pigeonholed into one specific academic area. It's really out there in every way.
Something that's really unique to Ryerson are the zones. We have 10 zones overall, and really they're just incubators or hubs where students can take their business ideas and we'll help you nurture them while you're still here. So if you pitch your idea and you like it, we'll take you in, we'll give you some free office space, we'll give you a mentor, and we'll give you some opportunities to attend some workshops. So if you're not someone who knows a lot about marketing, you can attend a marketing workshop. Or if you're not someone who knows too much about grant writing, you can attend a grant writing workshop. And these zones are really amazing places, and they've actually created a lot of businesses, a lot of successful businesses. I recently heard of one through the social venture zone where the student actually was creating greenhouses up north in Nunavut, which enabled food to be grown up north, which was obviously a little harder due to the cold, which lowered the prices of the food over there because there was less transportation cost. And furthermore, it actually also reduced the fear of food security because there were less preservatives that needed to be in the food. And this is kind of the part where I get a lot of eyebrows going up. The student who recently turned 24 actually bought a yacht with the money he made out of that. So I know. I am 26, I don't have a yacht. So there are opportunities for students to really expand and grow. And that's just one example. There are plenty more. The DMZ is really the first zone that we created here at Ryerson. It is the #1 university-based incubator in the world. I myself got involved in a zone. I had a project in the transmedia zone. I created a gender bent web series as a part of my research that I just talked about. But you don't even have to be the person with the idea to get involved in the zones, which I always think is important. My friend Maddie was really interested in fashion, so she went and worked part-time at the fashion zone. She got some work experience out of that. She wrote tweets, wrote press releases for them, and she was studying professional communication, so she was getting real-life experience in the field that she was studying.
Yeah, I always like to think about that too in the zones, because I don't think, me myself, I don't think I'm really have that entrepreneurial spirit. I think I, don't think of myself necessarily as an entrepreneur, but I would love to help someone else. So I think that that's how I would probably get involved in the zone. And again, it's just thinking about, the wide scope of the Ryerson student. And while we do have a lot of entrepreneurial minded students here who are doing incredible things in the zones and just through their coursework and their personal lives, you don't necessarily have to fit a mold to be a Ryerson student, right? There's really something here for everyone, and everyone belongs here. Nice shot of Toronto.
Yeah,
there.
that is literally the busiest intersection in Canada, and you can see it in the photo.
Yeah.
Right now, it's a little more people are wearing coats in that actual corner than in that photo. But I think that photo really just demonstrates how active the city is. You're going to come here, you're going to become a Torontonian, you're going to walk really fast when you walk down the streets, and you're going to be proud of it, believe it or not, in a few weeks.
Absolutely.
I really like this photo because it shows the TTC. And I think that is a symbol for how accessible Toronto is to the rest of Ontario and the world as well. We're right by Dundas Station. So in the GTA, it's very easy to get to Ryerson because you can take the subway to Dundas Station or College Station, which is also relatively close. You could also take the GO bus or train to wherever you need to go. I actually live out east in Ajax, so not too far east. But I do commute into the city, and I do that by taking the GO train, and then from Union I have 3 options. I can walk above ground, underground, or take the subway. But even if you live a little further out, then we have Porter Airlines right next door on Toronto Islands. We also have the UP Express from Union Station that can take you right to Pearson. So no matter where you live, Toronto is very accessible to you.
Definitely accessible. It's a huge perk.
What's also really special about Ryerson is that we have the Ryerson Theatre, and that's actually one of the venues for the Toronto International Film Festival. So we do tend to see the occasional celebrity on campus, which excites a lot of our students. My brother actually met Ryan Reynolds. He also met Anna Kendrick. He took a picture with her. It's still his profile picture. 3 years later, he won't take it down. And this year, actually, they did a live reading of The Breakfast Club in the Ryerson Theatre through TIFF, through the Toronto International Film Festival. And that featured Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad and Christina Hendricks from Mad Men. So yeah, every year, there's always a celeb on campus at one point or another.
Absolutely, and our film students really love this for obvious reasons, not only for the opportunity to get to watch the films, but also even to participate. Mm-hmm. I recently made the connection of 2 Ryerson Film Studies alumni who were encouraged by one of their professors to submit their 4th-year thesis film into TIFF. And they did. They were a bit apprehensive, but they did submit it, and they actually won the award for Best Canadian Short. So that was pretty exciting as recent graduates of the program, and from there their careers have really just taken off. Now they're doing pretty incredible things with their own production company, and they still live in Toronto and are working internationally. So, it's nice to know that, it's there and it's something that we can all enjoy as sort of a Toronto community. But in addition, it's actually a pretty incredible opportunity for our students as well.
This is my favorite building. I don't know why. I love, this building has everything you need. It's a one-stop shop. One of the things that I always like to talk about in terms of this building is that we actually hold classes upstairs inside the movie theater, inside the Cineplex, which is kind of cool. I always imagine students with their popcorn as they listen to the professors. But it's also right across the street from the Eden Center. So to me, that means that if you're like me in the middle of the day and you suddenly decide that you don't like your outfit, you could literally walk over and change really quickly and buy something new. Yeah. Or if you realize, hey, my shoes aren't working today, I need some snowshoes, you can go buy some real quick.
Absolutely, yeah, there's lots of great stores in there. You can see Winners, there's lots of restaurants. There's also a Good Life Fitness in there. I mean, of course, as a Ryerson student, you would have access to our Ryerson facilities. There's also a brand new dollar store, which I know is a campus favorite for a lot of students, especially when you're a student on a budget. Yeah. There's a pretty great Dollarama store in there. So, there's lots, and then you go right across the street, like Ashley mentioned, you're in the Eden Center, the huge mall, everything you could ever want. So you're never far away from essentials, as she mentioned, and also just that hustle and bustle of really sort of the community at large, not just You're never in a bubble at Ryerson,
No,
right?
yeah.
You're always just in the middle of the action.
And like I talked about, we are culturally diverse. It is very clear as soon as you walk on campus that we reflect Toronto, we reflect real life, which is in Toronto, we are the most multicultural city in the world. There are 146 countries represented on campus and over 80 languages spoken on campus. It's true, you can walk by, you'll hear people having different conversations, and that's just really a reflection of the world we live in. And I, as a Ryerson student, am really proud of that fact. I spoke Spanish at home growing up, so it was really exciting to me to come to a campus where I could speak Spanish with other students, because I found students like me who also spoke Spanish when they were growing up.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. And I always think about how much it adds to the classroom too, right? Especially
Absolutely.
not only the cultural diversity of Canadians, but also sort of the makeup of the entire world, right? I always like to say that whether you're studying politics or business or media, right, it's going to be different, your experience of it, depending on the situation in which you were brought up.
Absolutely.
Right? So it really adds so much, not only to the classroom environment, but also just to the campus environment, right? And you see that in student groups, which I know is coming up in a moment.
Ta-da. Yeah, so there are a lot of student groups that do focus on culture, but there's also things like intramurals that a lot of students get involved in. As you can see right there on our quad, they're playing soccer, the students. There's also bubble soccer I've seen being played on the quad. One of my favorite teams is the Quidditch team, and they actually compete against other universities, which is kind of cool. But other than that, there's also things like Enactus, which is business-oriented and very worldly. There are also vocational societies. So if you want to go become a lawyer, you can join a club to help you practice for the LSATs and build a community that way, or a medical student, etc. And even if there's not a club for you, you can create that club. Even if you see that there's a need for a club, if you love something and there is no representation, you can create that club. You just have to apply through RSU, and we will help you do that.
Absolutely. I actually met a student recently who created an organization for Latin American students.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. She is originally from Venezuela, and she helped to create this with one of her close friends who also has Latin American heritage, and the club has now gotten off the ground. So I think it's nice to see that it really is possible, right, if you're willing to put the work in.
This is exciting because I love talking about the Mattamy Athletic Center. Like Kelly mentioned, we have 2 recreational centers on campus. One is actually underneath the quad, which a lot of people are very surprised to hear, but it is a fully accessible gym, and as a part of your tuition, you've already paid for it. So you don't have to worry about paying a monthly fee. It's already included as a student. And then the second one is the Mattamy Athletic Center, which is located inside the former Maple Leaf Gardens. That is where the Toronto Maple Leafs used to play. It's one of the most iconic historic buildings in Toronto. It's also where the Beatles performed, where Frank Sinatra's performed. And as a Ryerson student, it's all yours. Again, because you've already paid your tuition, that is included. You don't have to pay a monthly fee to attend the gym. LeBron James actually went into the Mattamy Athletic Center to work out last year. Yeah. Not sure how much he actually got to work out. He was probably bombarded with fans who wanted selfies, but he chose that location, that gym, to do it. So that tells you something about the caliber of gym that it is. It is also where we host a lot of our sports games. And with your student card, you can get into those games for free.
Absolutely. And we have some really top-notch teams as well, right? Men's basketball is featured there. Women's volleyball went undefeated last year and won the national championship. So we have a wide variety of teams, and it's really exciting to cheer them on.
Absolutely.
Get in the spirit, right? Eggie will be there, I can guarantee. And yeah, it's a great environment to be in, I think, cheering on our Ryerson men.
All right, the Sheldon and Tracy Levy Student Learning Center, or as we colloquially call it, the SLC. This has a really cool story about it. It actually started because Ryerson sent out a survey to its students asking them what they needed to be more successful. And students said, we need space to hang out with our peers, to talk, to relate, to do all those things outside of the library, so we can actually not necessarily be quiet all the time. And so what did Ryerson do? They built them an entire building to do that. So every floor is a little bit different. It has a different theme. We have one floor that's dedicated just to study space. that is more of a quiet zone. I really like to call it it's not quite a library because it has so many outlets that you can plug, for you to plug in your laptops and things like that, but it really is a space for you to find either that quiet spot during your day or for you to catch up on some studying. Another floor is our famous beach. It's an indoor beach. It doesn't quite have sand, but it is a recreational place for students to hang out and just chill for a little bit. And then on our fourth floor is accommodation support. So if you have any accommodation needs, we will be your advocates. It's also a place where you can go for writing support or math support. So if you don't know how to get that essay started, we'll help you out. Or if you didn't understand today's stats lesson, we'll help you out. That's what we're there for.
Absolutely.
Residents, I get a lot of questions about residents on the road. At Ryerson, we actually have 3 residence buildings open right now. We have Pittman Hall, which is our more traditional style residence. We also have the International Living and Learning Center, which we on campus call ILC. That is a renovated hotel. So students actually, for the most part, get their own queen-size bed and a private bathroom, which is pretty sweet. And most people get single rooms. I think it's only about 5 rooms that are doubles, but everyone else gets a single room, which is awesome. And then we just recently opened Home on Jarvis. Home on Jarvis is a condo building, so you're kind of living the dream. You're living in a condo in downtown Toronto, and it comes fully furnished. It actually gets a bi-weekly house cleaning. The only thing is they don't go into your room, so sadly you do have to make your own bed. I'm so sorry to tell you. But other than that, you're getting bi-weekly house cleaning. It comes fully furnished. They actually have something that's very cool that I wish I had at my own house. Their laundry services, actually, you put in your laundry, you do something with the touchpad or whatever, and it actually sends you a text message when it's done. You can go back upstairs, watch your Netflix show, and it'll text you, and you can be like, cool, my laundry's ready, I'm gonna go downstairs, which is awesome. We actually have a 4th residence building opening up in the new year. It is called Daphne Cockwell Health Sciences Complex. And what's unique about this building is that all of the upstairs area will be residences, and all the downstairs area is going to be like labs, professors' offices, things like that. So in theory, if you have a class downstairs, all you need to do is press an elevator button. You don't even have to put on a coat, which is pretty awesome.
That would be nice in the winter.
Right?
That would be very nice in the winter, yes.
I should note that residency is not guaranteed for first-year students at Ryerson. The way it works is actually first years get priority and then distance away from Toronto. So the farther away you live, the higher the chances. And I think it just makes it a little bit more fair. If someone lives in Vancouver, it's not possible for them to commute in every day, right? Whereas someone who lives where I live, it is possible, like I said. So definitely still apply if you're interested in your residence. This year especially, you're gonna have we have more beds than ever. You have bigger chances than you've ever had before. But that is kind of the reason why we don't guarantee residence.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, we have 45,000 students and we're in the heart of downtown Toronto. So
Yeah,
that would be pretty difficult to promise housing to all of them. But we really do our best. The increase in beds is really exciting, and we always encourage students to apply. You never know who else is going to apply. You never know who else is going to want to live in which building, right? I actually met a mature student recently who had been out of high school for about 6 years, and she decided to come back to school, and she opted to live in Home on Jarvis, which is the condo style building, because she kind of felt like she was maybe a bit more of an adult in sort of the phase in life, as opposed to, just sort of fresh out of high school. So she loves it. She feels like she lives in a condo in Toronto. And, I think that's worth mentioning as well, that, just because it's your first year student doesn't necessarily mean you're coming straight out of high school, right? I mean, she was a first year student too, even though she'd been out of school, formal education for a little while. So, really think about which building makes the most sense for you, what your priorities are, and then apply. Apply. And apply on time.
Yes.
The deadline will typically be June 1st.
Global, we've talked so much about Toronto, but we would be amiss to say that Toronto is the be-all and end-all. We know that the rest of the world is enticing, right? We want to travel, and we want you to travel as well. We want you to have those global connections. So we have actually 133 partner universities across the world, across 34 countries. And most people do a formal exchange in their third year. But even if you don't want to do a formal exchange, that's not the only way to get connected worldwide. You can do an international class. So our interior design students, for example, have a chance to go to Cortina, Italy. And that's a class that they can take. And they actually help to redesign the inside of a castle. Our performance, acting, and dance students have the opportunity to go into Greece for a class. There's also our food and nutrition students can go to Thailand or France. So no matter what program you're in, there's probably a global connection that you can make. But again, if you don't want to do that academically, you don't have to. There are many student clubs that go international, and Actus is a great example of that. They do great things internationally. Another one is Alternative Spring Break. My good friend Caitlin did Alternative Spring Break. She's actually featured in she's quoted in a lot of our books at Ryerson, which is pretty awesome. But it's an opportunity for you to get involved outside of the city, outside of Canada, and to do some good in the world.
Absolutely. And I always hear stories of our students, presenting their research at conferences too internationally. I know one of our students from the Hospitality and Tourism Management program recently won an award for her research, and she went to, I believe it was Jamaica, to present her research, which is very, very cool. So you think about our students doing sort of that caliber of work and getting recognized on an international level is pretty amazing. So yeah, so many opportunities to make the world sort of your oyster while you're a Ryerson student.
Scholarships, yes, important. Another hot topic, another question that I get a lot of, because university does cost money, but there are ways to offset those costs, and one of the big ways to do that is through scholarships. So if you're coming in from Ontario, and we actually look at your top 6 URM level courses at a grade 12 level to calculate an average. If that average is above 80%, you are guaranteed a scholarship at Ryerson. And that scholarship is renewable as long as you keep up your grades. But that's just a base of what you could get. You can add more free money on top of that free money. A great one to apply for is the President's Entrance Scholarship, which is one of our most prestigious awards. We offer 12 every year, and it is worth $40,000. I mean, it's getting $10,000 a year. It's quite a lot of money. Definitely worth the application. And like I said earlier, TRSM alone has $1 million to give away. And every year, so much money doesn't get claimed because people don't apply for these scholarships. So apply. It might as well sit in your bank account. It shouldn't sit in ours. So
Absolutely.
Take the time to do that.
Absolutely. And fun fact about the President's Entrance Scholarship as well, the president will call your personal phone number to tell you that you won the award. So if you're working really hard in high school and you're doing really well in your classes and you apply for the President's Entrance Scholarship and you get a Toronto area code, sometime maybe in May, definitely pick that up, because you never know who could be on the other end of the line. It could be the president of Ryerson University informing you won $40,000. So
what a great phone call to get, right?
Yeah, I know a student who told me the story recently. She said, I still remember, this was 5 years ago, and she said it was 8:04 a.m. on a Tuesday. she clearly is, that memory is etched. So some really great, and the ability that she has had, this one particular student, to pursue her education in the way that she wanted, without always just not concern, but just that idea of financing her education hanging over her head. I know has really allowed her to make the most of her time at Ryerson. So we encourage you to apply for these scholarships, right? And also while you're a student here at Ryerson, and also those just in your community, right?
Absolutely.
There's always scholarship opportunities available through the community. So definitely seek those out as well.
So admission, this is probably the most important piece that we should talk about, because how do you get into Ryerson, right? There are some things we expect from our incoming students. So I say there's 3 things we expect. Number 1, all of our students need to have graduated high school.
Yeah.
Number 2, we're going to be looking at your top 6 URM level courses at a grade 12 level to calculate an average. The averages usually are 70% or above. Many of our programs go above that. Business management, for example, is high 80s. So it does depend on the program. The great way to finding out what that admission requirement is, or what the average was last year, just to give you a sense of what you should be aiming for is to be going on to eInfo, electronicinfo.ca, and that kind of gives you an idea of what you should be aiming for. And the third thing are prerequisite courses. The prerequisite courses make you eligible for those programs at a university level. So those are very easy to find. You can check those out on our website. For example, accounting and finance. You need to take calculus, advanced functions, and grade 12 English. So it is important that you are checking those out prior to applying. At Ryerson, there's also two types of programs. So there's grades only programs and grades plus. Grades only program, we are only going to be looking at your top 6 URM level courses at a grade 12 level, like I just talked about. Grades plus programs, we're going to do that. We're going to weigh those grades 50-50 with some non-academic requirements. That might be an audition, portfolio, a reference letter, or a combination of a few things.
Yeah, absolutely. And February 1st,
yes,
the magic date. Equal consideration for Ryerson.
Yes, and that's also the date when many times the non-academic requirements are due.
So make sure you check in with your program. Information about the specific non-academic requirements for all programs that require them is able to be found on our website under each program, so definitely make sure you are researching those. Again, and also I would add as a little caveat, if you are not sure exactly what direction to take with your portfolio, how to prepare for your audition, things of that nature, I want to recommend that you check out additional RU Live online information sessions. So I can include a link to those as well in the follow-up, and they are held with pretty much every program, not every program, but pretty much every program that does require a non-academic requirement piece throughout the months of December and January. So if you're looking for that answer to, you know, what are you really looking for in my portfolio, those are a great way to hear from actual faculty and students what they have done in the past. So that's a little there as well.
Yeah, and before we move on, I do want to say once you do apply into Ryerson, you're going to be sent an email that links you to the Choose Ryerson portal. And it is important that you are accessing that portal, and it is important that you're constantly checking that portal, because that is how we Ryerson communicate with you. So if we send you a conditional offer, that's where we're going to send it. We no longer send you physical paper. It's not like the movies. We're not going to chase you down with an owl or anything like that. But that's how we're going to communicate with you. So if you do need to maintain an average, you need to find out what that average is, and that's how you're going to do that.
Absolutely.
So one thing I always like to stress is that seeing the campus itself is really the best way of knowing whether or not the school is going to be the right fit for you. So we do encourage you to access the virtual tour. If you are able to come to Ryerson, then that's a great way too. But the virtual tour is really going to give you a sense of what the space is like and where you're going to be studying for 4 years.
Absolutely. It's available in a wide variety of languages. We've actually also added, I believe, Portuguese to this one as of now. It's really fun way to just navigate around campus. So we really encourage you to check out the virtual tour. And of course, if you can't come to campus, if you can come to campus, visit us as well. It's always so much fun just to see where it could potentially be your home for the next 4 years or more. So you're always welcome. You can register for a campus tour on our website. So if you go to ryerson.ca and then click the visit tab, you can register for a campus tour right there. And then I'll end with this one because this is a bit more of my realm. So we are able to be found on a wide variety of social media channels, and our handle is Ryerson on all of them. So if you'd like to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Snapchat, you'll definitely receive a wide variety of different content. So Facebook, we often, and Twitter, I guess, we like to repost important news stories about Ryerson and share other things that different departments across the university are doing. Instagram is a great way to really see photos of the campus and more of a visual stimuli, I guess. YouTube, we have a full-time videographer who works tirelessly to create great video content for prospective and current students. So if you're interested in some of those clubs that we were talking about earlier, you know, we have things like Are You K-pop and, you know, the Anime Club. We have little videos featuring them, as well as Hillel at Ryerson. So, you know, different, you know, cultural and interest-based groups. Lots of great stuff on YouTube there, as well as some really helpful videos for admissions purposes, like how to apply to Ryerson, how to accept your offer to Ryerson, that type of thing. And then Snapchat is really where we let our student ambassadors take the reins. So we have 5 student ambassadors on my team, the communications team here at Ryerson, and we let them kind of show you their lives through Snapchat. Of course, they answer your questions. So really a great opportunity to connect with us in so many ways on social media. And then I will add y.ryerson.ca at the bottom there is our student blog. So all of our student ambassadors are always blogging about their experiences, and there's some great tips on there, you know, how to utilize resources on campus to help support you when you're studying for exams, and, you know, what to do in Toronto over the winter break if you're still here, and, you know, things like that. It's really fun. Ask Ryerson is a fantastic resource, 24/7 answers to Google questions. So if you want to say, you know, Ryerson, where is my, when is my application due? It will definitely tell you that. Like I said, 24/7. We are not in the office 24/7, 365. So definitely that's a great place to go if you have one of those questions. It's just ask.ryerson.ca on that screen there. And then choose Ryerson, of course, is what Ashlyn was mentioning. It's your application portal that will be how you stay in touch with us, and also how we stay in touch with you. So make sure you're checking it regularly, because there could be some news that you will want to get your hands on sooner rather than later in that portal. So definitely make sure that you are checking it out. And with that, that comes to sort of the end of our formal presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the slide, and it's just going to leave 2 of us on camera. So your screen will jig just a little bit. Bear with us. Okay, there we are. And at this point, I would really like to invite you to ask us any questions you may have. So I know I mentioned this at the beginning. I think we may have had a few folks join us since then. So there is, at the bottom of your screen, if you hover your mouse, there is what looks like a stack of little file folders that has a Q&A on the bottom. If you would like to ask us a question, please feel free to type it in there. If you would like to ask it privately, meaning that we don't see your name, you can click the check mark that says send anonymously. We also have the opportunity to respond to you privately in that occasion if you would like. So we will, I guess, stick around for a couple minutes or so to see if we get any questions submitted to us. Other than that, we will likely sign off. So if we don't get any questions, I will definitely say thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've learned something about Ryerson. Thank you to Ashlyn for her wonderful presentation, and we hope to see you soon, whether that be on campus or virtually for another information session or whatever it may be. So thanks very much, and best of luck to you.
Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. So I think we'll hang out for a few minutes. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A, and hopefully we can give you some great answers, or at the very least point you to some folks who would be able to answer those questions for you. So we've got 4 people who are currently live with us, which is great. And we look forward to answering any questions they may have.
Yeah, thank you for spending this time with us, by the way.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure to be here. So can you think of any questions that you always get when you're visiting schools that maybe we didn't cover today?
Ooh, good question. A lot of students ask me about our unique programs at Ryerson. So I always like to plug medical physics, which I spoke about a little bit about at the beginning of my presentation. New media is also a very cool program. It's a very using technology in an artistic way, which I think is pretty cool. And the results that the things that they do is really astounding and really cool. Graphic communication management is another one that I always like to plug. That's a really cool program. It's one of the few of its kind. And there's a lot of good things and cool things going on. The whole building where it's housed is actually paid for by the industry. The industry was so hungry for our students that they built them a place to study. It wasn't really Ryerson that actually paid for that building, which is amazing. And then even things like engineering, there's some cool programs in there. Aerospace engineering, for example, they're one of the few universities that offer it.
Canada,
so,
not just provincially, but
absolutely.
in Canada. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and I always think about that too, and how the diversity of our programs allows for so much collaboration. You know, we talked a little bit about the zones and collaborating, but you know, I always think about the fashion brands that are developing from our fashion students, and they're using engineers to help design the garments, and then you know, they're using marketing students to help promote their products. So it really is interdisciplinary in so many ways, and you know, the diversity of our programming across the 6 faculties really does allow for that, I think, in so many ways, which is very cool. I think if I ever receive any questions. I mean, we covered quite a bit. I think if you're not from Toronto, people often say, what's the weather like? But I think most of our students will be fairly adept at handling a good Ontario winter. If not, just know that there's the Eaton Centre, as we mentioned. You can go grab a coat and some boots if you need to. When you're moving into residence as well, there's a Bed Bath & Beyond right up the road, so that's always a good thing to know. And of course, during orientation week, they will take you through all of those and help you get everything you need to make sure you're all set up with your residence.
Something that some students ask about is the English language proficiency test.
Yes, absolutely.
The way it works at Ryerson is if you've entered Canada after January 1st of 2015, that is for our incoming year right now, then you may need to do an English language proficiency test. There are a few tests that you can take. IELTS is one of the more popular ones. Definitely. But then there's all that information is online if you feel like that may apply to you.
Sure, for sure. That's a great point. Yeah, we do have a wide variety of not only international students coming from other countries, but international students who are currently studying in Canada as well. Mm-hmm. And depending on when they came to Canada, they may also still fall into this criteria. That's right. So that's definitely a great point to point out, as well as there, obviously, like everything, there's much more information available on our website about the types of tests and the minimum requirements. I know we can both tell you right now that the minimum requirement for IELTS is 6.5. If you are below 6.5 right now and are looking into potentially sort of a bridging program, we do have our wonderful ESL Foundation program at the Real Institute, which is right on campus essentially, and it's a wonderful program that will really help prepare you not only for academic studies, but also just for living in Toronto. You have the opportunity to acquire some degree credits before you actually begin your degree. So it actually gives you not only a jump start in terms of improving your English language skills, but also you'll be ahead of some of your peers potentially.
I was actually there the other day, and it's an amazing place.
The space is beautiful.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Yeah, the space is beautiful. So. And like everything at Ryerson, they're big on experiential learning, so they take you out into the city and do lots of other things as well. So yeah, well, I think it's been probably about 5 minutes and we haven't received any questions. So hopefully that means that we were comprehensive and answered everything that was on your mind. But I always end by saying, you know, please, the conversation doesn't end here. Right, please connect with us, whether that be through our service hub, which is a great place to go for admissions, whether that may be through campus tours I mentioned, whether that's through RU Lives, whether that is through our virtual tour, whether it's through social media. Really, there are endless opportunities to get in touch with us, and we hope to continue the conversation with you about your future careers, potentially here at Ryerson. So. With that, I also want to mention that some of the administrative staff at your high school do have our contact information as well, so we are happy to answer any questions you may have. Any last words for our folks who are watching us tonight?
No, well, thank you everyone for listening. Aggie also would like to thank you.
Absolutely.
And again, stay in touch. Find us. Check out our social media, get us vibe for who we are, and hopefully we are, and if we're not, that's okay too.
Absolutely. We wish you all of the best in all of your future endeavors, and we hope to see you soon.
And say hi to us if you see us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you come on campus and see us, say hi.
Absolutely. Say hello. We'll be here. Bye, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.